Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Anime Stop Motion Reviews. I am Anime, and today we'll be taking a look at the Diamond Select Marvel Select Thanos from Avengers Endgame. This figure retails for $24.95 on the Disney Store website. I have a link below to make things easier for you guys. You can also pick this up from your local Disney Store if you have one around. Not everyone does, but that's always a great way to select, no pun intended, the best from the bunch if there is more than one. Now, this guy's got some great things about him, one of which is that he is one of the few Thanos figures based off of Endgame that actually has two normal forearms and hands. A lot of them seem to come with the golden left-handed Infinity Gauntlet on, for example, on the Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure. That glove is also included in the set as well, but it's an alternative extra arm. There are some gripes I have with this figure, we'll get into that as well, but let's do this thorough and let's take a closer look starting with the packaging. So starting off with the front of the package, this is standard Diamond Select packaging with display ready setup. So there is a clear plastic portion displaying the figure in a neutral pose, as well as the accessories, the gauntlet on the bottom right, and the double-bladed weapon partially hidden by the packaging on the right. The Marvel Select logo is to the upper right. Beneath it, it reads Thanos, and being a Disney Store exclusive, a Disney Store logo is at the bottom. There's also an MCU Avengers Endgame logo at the bottom, and the whole packaging has a light blue and white color scheme that allows the character to stand out a little more. On the side is a large MCU Avengers Endgame logo, and on the back of the packaging is a product shot of the figure itself with the alternate Infinity Gauntlet arm attached. Nothing else really important, so let's move on. Here's a quick look at the figure still bound by the interior plastic outside the packaging. And here's the Mad Titan out of the box in all his conquest, violence, slaughter-seeking glory. A truly beautiful piece if I do say so myself. Even for all its faults, this is an absolutely gorgeous figure. It has a nice, grimy, and dirty aesthetic to it. A lot of beautiful details and nice sculpting throughout. It certainly has a very intimidating presence just like Thanos did in the movie. The Hasbro Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure version definitely looks more like a toy to me than this one. However, it's not without its faults as you can see. This Thanos appears more blue-grayish than purple. His skin color looks more like that of Ebony Maws, and his forearms appear a tad short, making his arms look a bit stubby. It's not really a big deal as I don't think most people will notice it. His skirt piece also seems to be backwards as the front piece is supposed to be separated into three pieces like the backside. And of course, his weapon is inaccurate to what we see in the movie. I don't think that's as big a deal as the fact that the weapon is uneven, with the front blade being significantly smaller than the back portion. He comes with two accessories, of course, the bladed weapon and an alternative left hand with the gauntlet on. The weapon, of course, as I previously stated, is inaccurate and uneven, but it looks pretty cool. It's not as nice as the actual weapon he wields in the movie. It has some nice scratches and marks on the darker portions, giving it a little more of a worn down look. The gauntlet is nice as well, but it's inaccurate since he never wears this gauntlet in the film anyway. Here's a closer look at the details on the gauntlet. There's some very nice sculpting going on the glove, and a very worn down looking feel to it. One thing to note is that the hinge is painted gold like the glove, but not all the way through, so it actually shows purple if you bend the hand in either direction. The figure itself stands at 9 inches, which scales to about 7 feet 6 inches tall. And he weighs in at about 410 grams, scaled to 410 kilograms. That would be about 904 pounds. So, yikes. Let's take a closer look at the figure. Here he is in a pretty neutral vanilla pose. As you can see, his arms appear a bit stubby. From this angle, it looks like his biceps could be extended a little, and his forearms as well, to have a more balanced out look. If you look at the sides of his thighs, he has that similar problem with the Hasbro Thanos, where his legs look a bit disconnected or tiny where the skirt portion sits. It's less noticeable because of the skirt, but it's there. I'm assuming it's done this way to not sacrifice articulation, with the thought that the skirt portion hides it anyways. Here's a closer look at that face sculpt, and it's a really beautiful face sculpt. It captures the likeness of Thanos superbly. On mine, his eyes are painted looking up to the upper right a little, but they're balanced correctly so he isn't cross-eyed or anything. Yours may vary. I think it looks rather cool and intimidating as lowering his head a bit gives him a pretty intense look. Aside from the kind of bluish or grayish skin tone he has, the actual sculpt captures the likeness of Thanos extraordinarily well. There's just a lot of very nice sculpt work throughout, a lot of dings and scratches, even a bit of rough painting, but for a figure like this where we're looking at a more battle-worn depiction, I think it works in its favor. There are some nice highlights or accentuated parts with what looks like some reddish browns and such, as well as some sparse gray and black splotchiness, like scratches all around. It just adds a lot of narrative to the figure, letting us know that this is someone who has been through some things. There isn't anything that is very clean on this figure, and that's actually a good thing. His skirt piece looks like it's been slashed and scraped in battle. I think one of the complaints I would make is that the thigh cut could have been hidden a little better behind the gold armor instead of cutting through it. I believe that's how the Hasbro Marvel Legends version did it, and they didn't have to sacrifice the look for the articulation. That would be another knock against this figure since it looks so good, but could have conserved some of that look and appearance. His armor looks like it's seen its fair share of battles, and all the while it maintains a nice level of detail with lines and accents carved throughout. One thing to note is he is such a heavy figure that his ankles will wear out from the weight of the top half. They've really got to do something about that, as the ankle articulation on these Diamond Select figures tend to wear out quick due to the load of the rest of the figure. Taking a look at the articulation starting at the top, his head looks down all the way. However, from the side you can see it leaves quite a gap at the back of his neck. He can look up a decent amount, and his head rotates smoothly on that ball joint. He also has significant play in the head wobble territory. He's got an upper diaphragm joint that allows him to bend forward just a little bit. It's hindered by a portion of the upper chest plate, and he doesn't really have any play in that diaphragm joint bending backwards. He does have rotation at that joint, and he does have a little bit of side-to-side play at that joint as well. His arms extend out at the shoulder not quite 90 degrees. It's hindered by that shoulder pad. He has a single jointed elbow that almost bends in at 90, and a wrist hinge that allows for forward and backward articulation. His arms rotate at the shoulder about this much. Once again, it's hindered by the shoulder pads, and they can go quite a ways before hitting that shoulder pad as well. There is full rotation at the upper bicep, partial rotation at the elbow that's hindered by the armor pieces as well, and full rotation at the wrist joint. His legs kick out about this far, and from the front you can see they kind of kick out a little bit to the side. And they do go back quite a ways, also to the side. He can do the splits about that far, and he's also got that upper thigh cut that I mentioned earlier in the review. Knees bend back about this much, ankles move forward about this much, and backwards. And he does have ankle pivot as well as peg holes at the bottom of his heels. Now for size comparison, here is the Marvel Select version up against my unfinished Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure version. And here he is up against the Marvel Legends Thanos version from Infinity Wars that came in the 3-pack with Iron Man and Doctor Strange. And here he is up against my finally completed Marvel Legends Professor Hulk Build-A-Figure. As you can see, he stands a little bit taller than the Hulk figure, but I guess you could fudge your way if you really wanted this version of Thanos instead of the Marvel Legends version. And here he is up against the Marvel Legends Thor with the Lebowski head on. Well, it looks like that is it for this overview and review of Diamond Select's Marvel Select Thanos Endgame figure. This is a great looking figure that I think is worthy of picking up if you want an Endgame Thanos figure. He's a little on the large side, but when Diamond Select releases their Endgame Hulk figure in his proper jumpsuit look, then these two figures might be the most movie accurate figures in the $20-$25 range of 6 to 7 inch scale figures. And when that Hulk figure comes out, then this figure can be fudged into your 6-inch Marvel Legends figure if you roll that way. But if not, then you can always settle for the Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure and hold out for a Legends Professor Hulk jumpsuit version along the way. Aside from mainly the skin color being off and an arm accessory I don't think anyone's going to use, I think this figure is a really good figure. It would have been nice to get the Nano Gauntlet or a different head altogether, but overall I don't think this figure is that bad. I still think it's a pretty good figure. It's up to you to decide if it's worth it for pretty much a standard figure with an incorrect version of his blade. But anyways, thanks for checking out this review, and if you liked it and want to see more content like this, then make sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell for notifications, and I'll see you guys later.